Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about a Russian general, chemicals, and your questions. Okay, so overnight here in the States, some big news broke when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. And the backstory has led to a lot of questions because even though it was covered on the channel back when it happened, it doesn't look like it's common knowledge. So, what happened? Lieutenant General Igor Kilarov is no longer with us. He was in charge of Russia's NBC troops, nuclear, biological, and chemical. According to reporting, he was leaving his apartment with an aide, and an electric scooter nearby exploded. The early appearance is that it was remotely detonated. It is said to have had the force of roughly 10.5 ounces of TNT. So, 300 grams to most people in the world. That's a relatively small amount and indicates this was incredibly targeted. But that's not what all the questions are about. The backstory in the reporting says the general was sanctioned in a number of countries and charged in Ukraine for using chemicals on the battlefield. Okay, so first things first. It's not what you are picturing when you hear about chemical weapons use. It wasn't like he was deploying nerve agents. What he is charged with is still a serious crime, though. The Ukrainians say they have documented thousands of cases in which chemicals were used in violation of the law. The evidence suggests grenades that deploy a toxic irritant, and there's PS use. What's PS? It's a militarily ancient version of CS or CN. It's tear gas. It can be fatal in some circumstances. The rumor mill says they use CS and CN as well. The use in Ukraine dates back to February of 2022 and has been relatively consistent throughout the whole conflict. So, the chemical weapons headline is a bit scarier than it should be, but this isn't something to be ignored. The SBU, which is Ukraine's internal security service, described their use as, quote, Russian forces mostly use ammunition with toxic substances by dropping them from first-person view drones on Ukrainian positions. When chemical grenades are detonated, their poisonous compounds affect human mucous membranes, especially the eyes and respiratory tract. Now, the obvious question was something like this: who done it? It could have been an internal Russian fight, but the smart money says it was Ukrainian special operations. I would be surprised if they didn't claim this one. There's been a string of high-profile Russian military figures that have met mysterious ends over the last few months. Not all of them have been enemies of Putin, or even aligned with the same internal factions in Russia. But all of them have been significant to Russia's war effort. There was a colonel who trained drone pilots for Russia's war in Ukraine at the end of September. On December 12th, a person working on modernization of Russian missiles. And the list goes on. The frequency of these types of operations seemed to increase the month after Ukraine moved into the Kursk region. But that's probably just a coincidence. Ukraine typically doesn't take credit officially for these sorts of operations. But in the past, they have replied to inquiries from journalists with a smiling emoji wearing sunglasses. At time of recording, it isn't clear how Putin plans to respond. Generally speaking, taking out high-level people associated with strategic forces isn't something that goes without a response. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.